March 1945. Lower Rhine, near Viersen. 23rd Headquarters. Special troops under Colonel Harry L. Reeder. More than 20 major deceptions staged. Night cloaked the Lower Rhine in March 1945 as German staff officers pored over aerial photographs and intercept reports. Images revealed United States armor massing near Viersen with tanks aligned in precise rows and guns positioned for advance. Reports confirmed radio traffic from division nets and engine noise echoed across the water at intervals. Officers marked positions on maps and calculated defensive requirements against apparent core strength. Unknown to them, the tanks consisted of rubber inflated with air pumps, and the guns remained wooden dummies mounted on frames. Radio nets followed scripted patterns, transmitted from trucks, and sound projections originated from recorded tracks of armored columns. Engineers positioned inflatable M4-style tanks at distances calibrated to evade close Luftwaffe scrutiny. Camouflage teams added mud splatter and track marks pressed by weighted rollers to simulate vehicle movement. Signal operators maintained traffic volume, matching real division patterns with messages timed to peak activity hours. Sonic units broadcast recordings of bridging sounds and engine revs from sound trucks positioned so that the noise carried across the river at night. All elements converged to project combat power equivalent to 2 infantry divisions. German commanders adjusted troop dispositions based on the perceived threat and allocated reserves opposite the dummy assembly areas. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops activated on 20th January 1944 and deployed to Europe in May 1944, functioned as the United States Army 1st Mobile Tactical Deception Unit. Authorized strength included 82 officers and 1,023 enlisted men, designed to simulate full corps presence. Visual deception relied on the 603rd Engineer Camouflage Battalion, deploying inflatable decoys and dummy equipment. Radio spoofing fell to the Signal Company Special Generating Division-level nets with authentic procedures. Sonic deception employed the 3,132nd Signal Service Company, special playing recordings from sound trucks. Security and support came from the 406th Engineer Combat Company, ensuring operational integrity. Combined tools enabled staging of more than 20 major deceptions across France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany. Inflatable tanks required 4 men and 30 minutes to deploy under calm conditions. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops integrated 4 elements into a cohesive deception force under Colonel Harry L. Reeder. The 603rd Engineer Camouflage Battalion handled visual elements with inflatable M4-style tanks and dummy trucks. Crews inflated each tank using compressed air to reach 12 feet height and 30 feet length. Dummies included artillery pieces crafted from plywood and canvas, with barrels aligned to cast realistic shadows. Camouflage artists applied netting and local foliage to blend decoys into terrain features. The Signal Company Special managed radio deception, creating nets that mimicked division headquarters traffic. Operators transmitted in Morse code, copying fist styles of authentic units to fool German analysts. Traffic volume built up to levels consistent with real division headquarters during simulated build-ups. The 3,132nd Signal Service Company Special provided sonic deception with trucks equipped for playback. Recordings captured real armored columns and were played back from concealed positions so that the noise carried over long distances without revealing the trucks themselves. The 406th Engineer Combat Company secured perimeters and assisted in rapid setup. Together, these components allowed rapid simulation of corps-scale forces when ordered. Inflatable decoys folded to backpack size for transport on standard trucks. Radio equipment weighed under 50 pounds per station for mobility. Sound trucks carried speakers rated at 500 watts output. Unit strength enabled more than 20 major deceptions without exposure. Engineers refined placement based on aerial reconnaissance patterns from prior operations. Decoys positioned at least 1,000 yards from likely flight paths reduced seam visibility. Track marks created with rollers matched M4 tread patterns exactly. Radio scripts followed real division protocols with call signs and authentication codes. Sonic playback synchronized with visual and radio elements for multi-domain coherence. German intercept stations logged the traffic as legitimate division activity. Staff officers correlated data streams into unified threat assessments. The unit shaped enemy decisions from Normandy landings through Rhine approaches. Deception scale projected 2 divisions with supporting artillery and logistics. Field experience from Normandy in June 1944 refined deception methods for the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Initial operations simulated division movements with inflatable tanks and radio nets. Crews deployed large fields of decoys within hours under overcast skies. Brittany campaigns in August 1944 introduced sonic elements with recorded tank noise. Sound trucks projected recorded engine sounds along wide frontages. Paris approaches in late August 1944 combined all domains for core-scale mirage. Radio traffic was sustained for many hours at a tempo matching real divisional nets. Ardennes operations in December 1944 tested winter conditions with frozen inflatables. Engineers adapted pumps for cold weather so that tanks could still be deployed quickly. Methods evolved so that convincing displays could be assembled in a single night by early 1945. Dummy motor pools included fake fuel dumps with empty cans and tire tracks. Airstrips marked with wooden aircraft fooled high-altitude photography. Headquarters, signs, and military police directed non-existent traffic at intersections. Sonic convoys broadcast bridging work at scheduled intervals matching real timelines. Inflatable tanks endured extended deployments in rain. The unit impersonated various divisions to mask actual Allied positions. German reserves shifted in response to perceived threats multiple times. Deception, success measured by enemy troop concentrations opposite dummy sites. Radio nets maintained discipline with no procedural errors detected. Visual elements incorporated deliberate imperfections like oil stains and equipment scatter. Sound recordings captured authentic M4 engine notes at idle and movement. Combined effects convinced German intelligence of massed forces. Operation Viersen, prepared with these refined techniques in March 1945. The 23rd staged more than 20 major deceptions by war end. Setup time was steadily reduced under optimal conditions. Camouflage teams adjusted decoy spacing to match reconnaissance altitudes from 15,000 feet. Signal operators rotated shifts to prevent fatigue-induced mistakes in transmission. Sonic units calibrated volume to carry across Rhine currents without distortion. Engineers documented each operation for incremental improvements in deployment speed. Inflatable equipment required maintenance checks every 24 hours in field conditions. Radio antennas positioned to mimic division command post layouts exactly. Sound trucks moved positions nightly to evade counter-reconnaissance. Unit cohesion grew through repeated cycles from Normandy to the Rhine. German commanders reacted to each simulated build-up with defensive reallocations. Deception layers built confidence in multi-domain integration over months. The constraint was assembling full displays under cover of darkness before first light. Operation Viersen ran from 18th to 24th March 1945 opposite the Lower Rhine. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops impersonated the 30th and 79th Infantry Divisions. Dummy assembly areas built near Viersen with inflatable tanks in rows. Crews deployed large fields of inflatable decoys across the area during hours of darkness. Radio nets activated with division call signs and traffic patterns. Messages built up to a level consistent with division command coordination. Sonic trucks broadcast armored column sounds at night from concealed positions. Sound carried across the river to German lines under favorable conditions. Visual sites included fake headquarters with tents and vehicle parks. Military police in borrowed uniforms directed traffic at key roads. Camouflage teams added track marks and mud to enhance realism. Aerial photographs captured the display from 15,000 feet altitude. German reconnaissance flights reported armor concentrations as expected. Intercept stations logged radio traffic matching infantry division profiles. Ground observers noted engine noise and movement indicators. All domains aligned to Project 2 division build-up for Rhine crossing. Ninth United States Army planned actual crossings at other points on the Rhine, where opposition later proved lighter than expected. The 23rd maintained operations for 7 days without compromise. Inflatable tanks held pressure in the field for extended periods in mild weather. Radio teams rotated every 8 hours to sustain output. Sound playback looped recordings calibrated to real column speeds. Enemy units concentrated opposite the deception zone as intended. Post-operation reports confirmed German defensive adjustments. Deception masked true crossing sites at Wesel and further north. Engineers selected terrain with natural folds to conceal inflation activity from ground view. Decoys positioned in staggered formations, matching doctrinal armored bivouacs. Dummy artillery emplaced with barrels elevated to standard firing angles. Camouflage netting draped over inflatables reduced rubber reflectivity under sunlight. Track rollers pressed patterns extending out from parks. Fuel stains applied with oil mixtures to simulate leakage from heavy use. Headquarters tents erected with radio antennas at regulation heights. Military police posts established at intersections with authentic signage. Radio operators transmitted routine reports on weather and supply status. Messages used authentication formats matching standard division procedures. Traffic volume ramped gradually to mimic arrival of fresh units. Sonic units played sequences of engine starts and convoy halts. Recordings synchronized with radio, mentions of movement orders. Sound trucks relocated every 12 hours along pre-scouted routes. Projections adjusted for wind direction to carry across the Rhine. Visual teams monitored decoys daily for pressure loss or damage. Inflatable repairs conducted with patch kits in under 10 minutes. Radio equipment checked for frequency drift hourly. Sonic speakers cleaned to maintain output clarity. German aerial activity increased on 20th March 1945. Reconnaissance aircraft flew multiple passes at 10,000 feet. Photographs developed showed tank rows with apparent crew activity. Intercept reports noted increased division net chatter. Ground patrols heard continuous engine noise through the nights. Staff officers briefed commanders on impending United States assault. Reserves, including panzer elements, shifted to Viersen front. Artillery registrations targeted dummy assembly areas. Ninth Army intelligence confirmed enemy concentrations via agent reports. The 23rd adjusted scripts to reflect simulated final preparations. Radio traffic included bridging requests and ammunition tallies. Sonic playback featured pontoon construction and boat engines. Visual enhancements added landing craft dummies along riverbanks. Inflatable boats deployed with outboard motor props. Camouflage extended to water edge with ripple effects. Operation drew on precedents from more than 20 earlier deceptions. Setup was completed under partial moonlight during the night. German acceptance grew with each converging data point. Engineers maintained discipline in light and noise control. Radio silence observed during actual aircraft overflights. Sonic volume lowered to background levels when reconnaissance neared. Decoy integrity held through light rain on 22nd March. Pressure checks revealed minor losses patched immediately. Traffic patterns peaked at 200 messages on 23rd March. Sound sequences ran 8-hour loops without repetition detection. Military police interacted with local civilians using cover stories. Headquarters displayed division insignia on vehicles and tents. All elements reinforced the illusion of 2 divisions poised. Ninth Army launched feints elsewhere to divide attention. Deception held firm through 24th March 1945. Enemy fire plans finalized against the false positions. The 23rd prepared extraction as real crossings began. Inflatable tanks deflated in sequence for rapid packing. Radio nets transmitted final coordination, then ceased. Sonic trucks withdrew under cover of darkness. Operation Viersen concluded with enemy forces misaligned. This operation became one of the best documented of the unit, more than 20 deceptions. Assembly was carried out within the available hours of darkness under operational constraints. German officers trusted converging intelligence sources during Operation Viersen in March 1945. Aerial photographs showed tank parks with realistic spacing and shadows. Radio intercepts revealed division nets with authentic message volume. Ground reports described engine noise and vehicle lights at night. Sonic projections delivered recordings of bridging sounds that could be heard across the Rhine. All data streams formed coherent picture of United States Corps assembly. Staff calculated requirements for 2 infantry divisions plus armor support. Reserves moved to strengthen defenses opposite Viersen sector. Intelligence analysts accepted the build-up without suspicion of manipulation. Visual deception held under multiple reconnaissance passes. Inflatable decoys maintained shape in the field for extended periods. Radio traffic followed procedures without detectable anomalies. Sound elements synchronized with visual and radio timelines precisely. German commanders committed forces based on the perceived threat. Ninth Army crossings encountered light resistance at actual sites. Opposition at the actual crossing sites proved lighter than many planners had feared. Deception success credited in post-war assessments for masking intentions. The 23rd sustained more than 20 operations of this type, with similar objectives. Enemy never identified the unit as dedicated deception force. Multi-domain coherence proved decisive in shaping decisions. German training emphasized correlation of reconnaissance sources. Convergence overwhelmed doubts about individual reports. Tactical shifts diverted artillery and reserves from real crossings. Staff officers annotated maps with confirmed armor positions from photographs. Intercepts translated messages revealing supply convoys and engineer preparations. Ground observers logged timed engine revs matching column arrivals. Sonic recordings included clanking tracks and shouted orders in English, all inputs aligned to project imminent assault at Viersen. Command briefings outlined defensive fire plans against the phantom force. Panzer reserves were held in areas away from the actual crossing sectors to counter the perceived threat. Artillery batteries registered on dummy coordinates with precision. Ninth Army monitored enemy movements through ultra-intercepts. Reports confirmed divisions fixed opposite the deception zone. The 23rd adjusted output to sustain the illusion daily. Radio teams inserted routine maintenance chatter into nets. Visual crews repositioned select decoys to simulate activity. Sonic units varied playback sequences to avoid pattern recognition. Inflatable tanks received fresh mud applications after rain. Dummy vehicles shifted positions by 50 yards nightly. Camouflage netting repaired tears from wind exposure. Military police maintained posts with rotating personnel. Headquarters tents displayed fresh laundry on lines. All actions reinforced lived-in appearance from altitude. German reconnaissance intensified on 21 March 1945. Aircraft flew grids at 8,000 feet, capturing details. Photographs revealed apparent refueling operations with hose lines. Intercept volume spiked with coordination for final assembly. Ground patrols reported increased lights and movement sounds. Analysts cross-referenced data against doctrinal templates. Matches confirmed 2 division strength with support elements. Commanders ordered minefields extended along the sector. Anti-tank guns emplaced in depth opposite tank parks. Infantry dug in with overlapping fields of fire. Ninth Army noted reduced patrols at true crossing points. Agent networks reported enemy fatigue from alert status. Deception drew sustained attention for 6 full days. The 23rd operated under strict emission controls at dawn. Radio traffic paused during known listening windows. Sonic playback ceased when aircraft approached within range. Visual teams used smoke pots to obscure inflation if needed. Decoy pressure held steady through temperature drops. Repairs completed 90% within 5 minutes. Traffic resumed at authentic operational rhythms. Sound loops incorporated random pauses for realism. German acceptance deepened with each verified report. Staff predicted crossing attempt within 48 hours. Reserves locked in position, unable to redeploy quickly. Ninth Army launched actual crossings on 24 March. Initial waves met sporadic fire from thinned defences. Bridgeheads expanded with minimal counterattacks. Enemy artillery fired on dummy sites, wasting ammunition. Panzer elements remained committed in areas distant from the true crossing sectors. The tactical impact was reflected in the scale of artillery and reserves diverted from the real crossings. Post-war interrogations revealed German surprise at empty fields. Officers described complete intelligence picture, now recognized as fabrication. Convergence of sources created unbreakable confidence in the false. A key constraint remained: how long decoy displays could be kept in the field before they needed to be serviced or moved. Ninth United States Army executed Rhine crossings with minimal opposition in late March 1945. Actual sites received reduced defensive fire due to German concentrations elsewhere. Operation Viersen drew reserves to Viersen sector for 7 days. Enemy units positioned opposite dummy assembly areas remained fixed. Crossings were completed with losses that were lower than many planners had feared. Post-war analysis attributed success to deception measures, including the 23rd. German officers realized the ruse only after bridgeheads secured. Aerial verification revealed rubber tanks deflated in fields. Radio nets ceased transmission without combat degradation. Sound projections ended without corresponding battle noise. Intelligence failure exposed through captured documents and interrogations. The 23rd conducted more than 20 major deceptions without prior exposure. Unit operations ceased with VE Day in May 1945. Inflatable equipment packed for return in standard crates. Radio stations could be dismantled quickly after each operation. Sonic trucks removed speakers rated at 500 watts. Existence classified until declassification in 1996. Veterans documented experiences decades later for historical record. Congressional Gold Medal recognition followed veteran advocacy efforts and was authorized in 2022 and presented in March 2024. Deception doctrine formalized for future United States Army operations. Small force of 1,105 men simulated core power. Engineering precision enabled multi-domain tactical deception. German High Command adjusted strategies based on false intelligence. Ninth Army engineers bridged the Rhine at Wesel under light artillery. Initial assault waves secured bridgeheads despite enemy fire. Enemy counterattacks delayed by mispositioned reserves. Panzer divisions arrived late after moving from rear areas some distance away. Bridgeheads expanded to several miles depth within the first day. Dummy sites received heavy bombardment, wasting shells. German forward observers reported hits on tank parks. Photographs confirmed destruction of rubber decoys post-strike. Commanders ordered advances against empty positions. Troops encountered deflated hulks and wooden guns. Reports filtered to headquarters revealing the deception. Interrogations of prisoners confirmed fixation on Viersen. Analysts reviewed intercepts, finding scripted patterns in hindsight. Sonic recordings identified as loops from playback devices. Convergence once trusted, now exposed as coordinated manipulation. The 23rd extracted equipment under cover of real advance. Inflatable tanks folded to 1/10 volume for transport. Radio antennas collapsed within minutes per station. Sonic trucks rejoined support columns without incident. Unit displaced to new sectors for final operations. More than 20 major deceptions concluded without unit compromise. Assembly teams practiced rapid teardown so that sites could be cleared quickly. Decoy sites cleared, leaving minimal trace evidence. Camouflage materials buried or burned per protocol. Signal logs destroyed to maintain classification. Security detachments screened withdrawal routes. German pursuit focused on actual bridgeheads, diverted attention. Ninth Army consolidated gains across the Rhine. Enemy defenses fragmented by misplaced concentrations. Tactical deception helped reduce opposition at key points. Post-war assessments noted substantial artillery fire directed against dummy targets. Reserves committed included formations that might otherwise have been used against the crossings. The 23rd prepared for inactivation procedures. Equipment inventoried for return to United States depots. Personnel rotated to occupation duties in Germany. Records sealed under security classifications for decades. Veterans maintained silence per oath requirements. Declassification in 1996 revealed full scope. Historians accessed files documenting each operation. Engineering drawings showed inflatable tank specifications. Radio scripts preserved authentic division procedures. Sonic recordings archived with decibel measurements. Congressional recognition followed veteran advocacy efforts. The gold medal was part of this recognition in the 21st century. Doctrine manuals incorporated multi-domain lessons learned. Modern deception units trace lineage to the 23rd. Small teams continue simulating large forces electronically. Engineering focus remains on rapid deployment and endurance. More than 20 operations set precedent for information dominance. German officers cursed the Phantom divisions too late. Decoy endurance in the field depended on weather and regular maintenance. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops concluded operations by VE Day in May 1945. Unit conducted more than 20 major tactical deceptions across Europe. Existence remained secret until declassification in 1996 allowed documentation. Surviving veterans provided accounts of engineering methods and operational details. Historians compiled records showing simulation of division-scale forces repeatedly. Congressional Gold Medal awarded recognition for strategic contributions. Deception techniques influenced United States Army doctrine development. Modern units incorporate multi-domain elements from the 23rd model. Inflatable decoys evolved into advanced materials for current use. Radio spoofing advanced with digital signal generation capabilities. Sonic deception integrated into electronic warfare systems. The unit proved small, specialized forces shape large-scale decisions. German commanders faced whole divisions that existed only in perception. Engineering focus enabled rapid deployment and sustained illusions. More than 20 operations diverted enemy resources consistently. Legacy persists in tactical deception training and planning. Historical accuracy preserved through declassified files and veteran testimony. The 23rd demonstrated precision over mass in information dominance. Veterans gathered for reunions after secrecy lifted in 1996. Oral histories captured deployment timelines and equipment specifications. Inflatable tank blueprints detailed rubber thickness and air valves. Radio procedures matched captured German analysis manuals. Sonic truck modifications included amplifier ratings at 500 watts. Doctrine writers studied each operation for measurable outcomes. Enemy troop diversions have sometimes been discussed in terms of division equivalents in later analysis. Post-war German generals acknowledged intelligence failures in memoirs. Multi-domain convergence created unbreakable illusions until exposure. United States Army field manuals adopted spoofing protocols. Training centers built mock decoy fields for practice. Electronic warfare schools teach signal mimicry techniques. Deception planning cells reference the 23rd in briefings. Small teams simulate brigade combat power today. Engineering precision remains core requirement for success. More than 20 major deceptions set benchmark for operational security. Unit strength of 1,105 men projected core threat. Legacy endures in information operations doctrine worldwide.